Ever feel like you're like right on the edge of some big universal truth,
Yeah.
but you just can't quite grasp it,
Yeah.
you know?
hmm
Like you're asking the universe, what's the deal with all of this?
Yeah.
Well, today we're diving into a book that claims to have at least some answers.
Okay.
Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh.
Oh, interesting.
Now, before we unpack this, full disclosure,
Yeah.
this book,
Yeah.
it's not for the faint of heart.
Okay.
Walsh says he wrote it after having direct conversations with God.
Wow.
You know, the big guy or gal or universal energy, however you vibe with it,
Mm-hmm.
upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
And these chats,
Yeah.
let's just say they challenge a lot of traditional religious ideas.
Right.
Millions have resonated with it,
Yeah.
but it's definitely sparked debate.
Of course. I can imagine.
It's a big claim.
Yeah, for sure.
So, to dive into some of these big, potentially controversial ideas,
Yes.
we have an expert joining us today.
Aye.
Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive. Excited to be here.
So what's so fascinating about conversations with God?
Well, I think one thing that really grabs people is that it doesn't beat around the bush.
Okay.
There are no cryptic verses or like theological debates,
Right.
you know. Instead, Walsh just jumps right into the deep end,
Yeah.
offering up a very direct and often surprising perspective on God and spirituality.
Right. Like right off the bat, Walsh tackles this idea of God as this judgmental figure waiting to punish us for our mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
That image
Oh,
out
yeah.
the window.
Gone. This isn't the God of do this or else. This
Right.
is a God of unconditional love, where the concept of right and wrong, as we traditionally see it, just it melts away.
See, this is where I always trip up a little.
Okay,
Because if there's no ultimate right or wrong, doesn't that make our choices meaningless?
that's a great question.
Walsh seems to wrestle with this too, questioning how morality and justice can exist in a system without divine judgment. Right, and that's where it gets really interesting, I think, because the book doesn't leave us hanging in this, like, existential crisis.
Okay.
It takes this, like, kind of radical turn
Okay.
and proposes that we're not separate from God, but actually all part of God.
Okay, break that down for me, because are we talking like we're all MIDI gods running around?
Well, think of it like this.
Okay.
Imagine you're a cell in your body.
Okay.
You experience life as that cell, right?
Yeah.
Limited to the world within that body.
Right.
But then you zoom out.
Okay,
You
yeah.
see the whole body, then the room it's in, then the planet.
Yeah.
That expanded perspective, that's
Yeah.
like tapping into the vastness of God, of which we're all a part.
So we're all little pieces of this massive universal consciousness.
Right.
And that leads us to another major theme in the book,
Okay.
the power of our thoughts.
Yes.
Walsh really hammers home this point,
Mm-hmm.
that our thoughts create our reality and our choices influence our experience of God.
Absolutely. He really argues that focusing on negativity, fear, lack, self-doubt,
Yeah.
those thoughts literally shape our reality.
Okay.
But if we choose love, gratitude, abundance,
Yeah.
well, that becomes our experience instead.
Okay. I can see how that's empowering.
Right.
In theory, at least.
Yeah.
But like easier said than done, right?
Sure.
Life throws curveballs.
Of course, yeah.
We get scared.
Mm-hmm.
We mess up.
Yeah.
I'm curious how conversations with God cackles the messy human stuff,
Okay.
especially in relationships.
Yeah, well, I think one of the most insightful concepts Walsh presents in the book is this idea of relationships as mirrors.
Oh, interesting.
He suggests that we often seek relationships for what we can get, love, security, validation.
Yeah.
But the real magic happens when we shift our focus to what we can give
Okay.
and what aspects of ourselves we want to see reflected back.
So instead of looking for someone to complete us,
Mm-hmm.
we should be looking for someone who helps us see ourselves more clearly. I like that.
And this actually ties into the book's perspective on exclusivity in relationships, too.
Okay.
Walsh suggests that this desire for exclusivity often comes from a place of fear of not being enough.
Yeah.
And he challenges us to redefine love beyond societal norms
Okay.
and to question if our need for control stems from insecurity.
Okay, now we're getting into some juicy territory.
Right?
And it sounds like Walsh doesn't stop at relationships.
He doesn't.
He takes on some pretty big societal structures too, right?
He does. Like, for example, he challenges the very foundation of marriage as we know it.
Wow.
arguing that true love doesn't need these external limitations.
Yeah.
It's not about being like anti-love or anti-commitment, but rather questioning if our institutions truly serve the highest expression of love.
It's like he's encouraging us to peel back those layers of societal conditioning and ask ourselves, does this belief system truly serve me?
Right.
Does it align with this idea of unconditional love?
Yeah, precisely. And this questioning spirit extends to education as well.
Okay.
How so? Well, Walsh suggests that our current education system, with its like focus on memorization and conformity,
Yeah.
neglects the development of intuition, creativity,
Yeah.
and individual truth-seeking.
Yeah.
He wants us to think about what we're truly nurturing in our pursuit of knowledge.
Okay.
Are we simply filling our heads with facts, or are we learning to think for ourselves?
Right.
To tap into our own inner wisdom?
It's about more than just what's taught in a textbook.
Exactly.
It's about like nurturing that inner wisdom and curiosity.
Yes.
I love that. Walsh really seems to be encouraging us to like question everything, to look beyond the surface of what we think we know.
Yeah.
And that includes some of life's biggest mysteries, right?
Absolutely.
Like what happens after we die?
Right. Well, Walsh doesn't shy away from those big questions. In
Okay.
fact, he dives right into the deep end with this concept of death as an illusion.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Death is an illusion.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to break that one down for me.
Okay, so Walsh argues that what we perceive as death, that sense of finality, it's not the end.
Okay.
Instead, it's more of a transition.
Okay.
It says we're eternal beings,
Okay.
souls on a continuous journey, choosing new experiences.
So it's less about like ceasing to exist
Right. Yeah.
and more about like shifting to a different state of being.
Exactly.
I love
And
it.
to make things even more mind-bending,
Yeah.
he suggests the possibility of reincarnation, time travel through dreams,
Okay.
even returning to Earth in different forms.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like our soul is on this grand adventure, trying out different roles, different lifetimes.
Yeah.
That's a concept that I could get behind.
Right.
But it also makes me wonder, if that's true,
Yeah.
what else is out there?
Yeah.
Are there other beings, other realms of existence?
That's where the book gets truly cosmic.
Okay.
Walsh introduces this concept of highly evolved beings,
Okay.
or Habees, existing in other parts of the universe.
ABs.
Yeah.
Tell me more about these highly evolved folks.
Okay, so these HEB societies, according to Walsh,
Mhm.
they operate on principles that are radically different from what
Mhm.
we often experience here on Earth.
Okay.
Imagine a civilization based on unity consciousness,
Yep.
where the well-being of all beings and the planet is paramount.
So no more like cutthroat competition,
Yeah.
no scarcity, no working ourselves to the bone just to get by.
Exactly. They've evolved beyond those limitations.
Wow.
They understand the interconnectedness of all things
Okay.
and live in a state of harmony, abundance, and cooperation.
Okay, now that's a future I think we can all get on board with.
Right.
But how do we even begin to like wrap our heads around that?
Mm-hmm.
How do we as individuals
Yeah.
tap into this higher level of awareness, this unity consciousness?
Well, Walsh suggests that we all possess psychic abilities,
Okay.
but like any skill,
Yeah.
they need to be exercised to develop. He encourages us to pay attention to our intuition, those gut feelings, those dreams that seem to come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
They might be more than just random firings in our brains.
I've always been fascinated by dreams.
Yeah,
Sometimes they feel so real, so vivid, it's like they're trying to tell me something.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's your intuition,
Yeah.
your higher self trying to like break through.
Okay.
He believes that by paying attention to these like subtle signals, we can start to develop our own psychic abilities.
So it's about learning to trust that inner voice,
Hmm.
that knowing that we all have inside of us.
Precisely. And this ties into another important concept in the book.
Yep.
The power of intention.
Okay.
Walsh reminds us that our thoughts create our reality.
Right.
Well, our intentions are like supercharged thoughts,
Okay.
laser-focused energy directed toward a specific outcome.
So it's not enough to just like passively wish for things to change.
Right.
We have to actively set intentions, align our energy with what we desire to see manifest in our lives.
Exactly. And that act of intention,
Yeah.
of consciously choosing what we want to create, aligns us more closely with the divine.
Okay.
It's about becoming conscious creators of our own experience.
Wow, that's a powerful concept.
Right.
But it also raises some tough questions, right?
Yeah.
Like, if we're all capable of shaping our reality with our thoughts and intentions,
Yeah.
how do we explain the suffering and injustice in the world?
It's a question that Walsh grapples with in the book.
Okay.
He argues that many of the systems we've created, governments, economic models, they're rooted in separation and scarcity.
Okay.
They perpetuate inequality and conflict.
So he's saying these systems are actually working against our natural state of unity consciousness?
Exactly.
Okay.
He's calling for a radical shift in our thinking,
Okay.
a move away from the every man for himself mentality towards a more compassionate, cooperative way of being.
It's like he's challenging us to imagine a world where we prioritize the well-being of all beings, not just our own little tribe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And while that might seem idealistic,
Yeah.
he argues that it's the only way forward.
Okay.
He believes that this shift begins within each of us by questioning our assumptions, examining our beliefs, and choosing to align ourselves with a higher purpose.
So it's a journey of self-discovery, of like shedding old patterns and limiting beliefs that keep us trapped in cycles of fear and separation.
Exactly. And that journey, that process of awakening to our true nature as expressions of the divine, is at the heart of Conversations with God.
So it's like he's saying, we're not just these like passive passengers on this earthly ride, but we're actually co-creators of our individual and collective reality.
Exactly. And that's an incredibly empowering realization.
But it can also be a little daunting, right?
Sure.
I mean, if we're responsible for creating our reality, does that mean we're also to blame for all the bad stuff that happens? Wars, poverty.
Yeah.
That telemarketer who called during dinner last night, like, my bad.
Well, that's where Walsh's perspective on personal responsibility gets really interesting. He's not suggesting we blame ourselves for every negative experience, but he wants us to recognize the power we have to choose a different experience.
So it's not about blame. It's about owning our choices.
Yes.
Both the empowering ones and the ones that maybe didn't turn out so great.
Precisely. And once we own those choices, it empowers us to make new ones. To shift our perspective and create something different.
Even in the face of, like, really challenging circumstances, we still have a choice.
Always.
Wow.
That's the beauty of free will, which is a, central theme in Walsh's dialogue with God. He challenges that traditional idea of a God who punishes and rewards, suggesting instead that we have complete freedom to choose our path.
No predetermined fate.
Right. No cosmic scorecard? That takes a lot of pressure off, honestly.
Right. And with that freedom comes the responsibility to choose wisely. To make decisions that align with our own highest good and the well-being of others.
It all comes back to that interconnectedness, doesn't it?
It does.
That sense that our choices, no matter how small they seem, they ripple outward and impact the world around us.
Exactly. And this interconnectedness extends to our relationship with the divine as well. Walsh suggests that we're not separate from God, but actually expressions of God. Each of us a unique facet of that universal consciousness.
It's like we're all individual notes in this grand symphony, each contributing to the overall beauty and complexity of the music.
What a beautiful analogy.
Yeah.
And Walsh argues that recognizing this inherent divinity, this connection to something far greater than ourselves, is the source of true joy and fulfillment.
It's about remembering who we truly are.
Not just these, limited, separate selves. But part of something vast, interconnected, and eternally loving.
Yes, and as we embrace this understanding, as we align our thoughts, intentions, and actions with this higher truth, we start to transform not just our own lives, but also the world around us.
It's like we become these, conscious co-creators, working in harmony with the universe to manifest a reality that reflects the love, abundance, and unity that's always been there, just waiting for us to tap into it.
That's the incredible invitation that Conversations with God offers. To question everything, to explore the depths of our own being. And to discover the boundless potential that exists within each and every one of us.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the thought-provoking world of Conversations with God, we're left with one final, lingering question. If you could sit down with the divine, look them right in the eye, or whatever they have in place of eyes, and ask just one question, what would it be?
That's a good one.
Let that marinate for a bit. Maybe even jot down some thoughts.
Yeah.
And if you feel like sharing, we'd love to hear what's swirling around in that brilliant mind of yours.
Of course.
You can find us on social media or drop us a line on our website.
Yeah.
Until next time, keep asking the big questions, my friends, and keep diving deep.